This is a replay that happened recently on the Salamander server, which is Wisden's medium roleplay server. The main character here is the Fern of Functionality. They are a Glorious Death Syndicate botanist, and I figured I'll start right here for extra context. They are growing killer tomatoes, and you can see them saving up extra seed packets and growing them in a way, in a place where you can't quite see them. You might be able to get a little angle on them, but they're currently curtained off. Also, he is helping supply a Rat King, which is certainly a great early distraction. People are not going to be really looking at other syndicates when a Rat King has army this large. The alert went to blue, which I don't know if that was actually based off of the Rat King. No one in chat seemingly was really talking about the Rat King, but this is a massive army for the Rat King. And the Rat King is just kind of roaming around the station. Oddly, people don't seem to like care much. Like, there's some people yelling at there's a giant rat with a large army, but Rat King's always been in this weird position, especially upstream, where like obviously it's an antagonist, but it's not actually an antagonist. So people just kind of ignore it until the rat kills a shit ton of people. So the Rat King started getting some aggressors, mainly in the form of a Borg. They also just go to the kitchen and like the chef does pull out a cleaver, and the second they touch the cleaver, they quite literally instantly crit from how many rats they are. The CMO, or somebody wearing the CMO's clothing, calls that out, and that security also shows up. But they just watch the rat kill the chef, and they're like still just like talking to them. Like, I don't know. This whole situation's honestly really confusing to me. Like, the Rat King clearly just murdered that person, and that is security doesn't do anything about it. Again, I don't think that's on the players. It's weird to me that the Rat King is not considered an antagonist. Like, what the hell else does it do other than kill people? Anyways, why that's happening, you can see why the heat wasn't necessarily on the botanist. They have started their killer tomato farm, and the first tomato has been loosed. They are opening doors, kind of spreading them out a little bit. The AI is actively just been watching them as AIs normally do. Honestly, the AI only exists to valid hunt. Unfortunately, that's how it is. But they took a very smart step here, and they block off the door with an open crate. No one really security-wise really checks on this for some reason. The head of security just kind of wanders off. There is a security officer and some bystanders. I think that might be a detective. Probably is a detective. Just kind of looking at the killer tomatoes. But no one seems to be that panicked. Like, he is just farming even more. And by the way, some of these killer tomatoes are slippery. Minutes pass and the AI, still desperate to try to get any real attention to the tomatoes, is making announcements and constantly calling on common radio. You can see that some people with security gear do show up. So the first security force did show up, but the tomato army probably at least doubled since it was first initially seen. It's impossible to say how many tomatoes there really are, because it's just not easy to right-click through them, but there is a lot, and these tomatoes seemingly are growing faster than normal, and each plant seemingly is also growing 6 at a time. Yeah, tomatoes don't last infinitely anymore, but that's not really an issue when you could grow 100 per minute. So the tomatoes start getting loose and, like, going after random people, but they're executed quickly. But little stray tomatoes is not the issue. The fun begins right here, where the botanist, the Fern, knows that they're bolted off by the AI, so they start C4ing walls, and this is the beginning of the end, really. He is loosing them, is cried out, and indeed, the tomatoes, now free from their chains, begin the helpless slaughter of the station. The sounds of the tomatoey bites ringing louder than the gunshots in the halls, which is honestly quite impressive. Bulk of the forces move south through the halls. That riot armor honestly sustaining dozens upon dozens of bites. It's honestly really cool seeing riot armor actually have a real reason to exist here. Head of security trying to use laser weapons. The faulty targeting of the tomatoes not retargeting, allowing them to get a few more hits in, but ultimately it just gets slaughtered here. CMO also grabbed the weapon and really tried, but there's just so many tomatoes, and for every tomato killed, there's 6 more being grown every 30 seconds, and you can imagine that red alert was summoned for this. Borg's attempting to recover some bodies, but tomatoes don't care what they're biting. They'll bite into metal just like they bite in the flesh. This artifact is also, like, just moving from across the map towards botany. I will spoil it. They don't have any nodes that actually kill the tomatoes, but it's really weird that the artifact will move across the whole map to the one antagonist doing anything. Also, interestingly, there is a sentient friendly Xeno that is coming to help attack the tomatoes. I do believe they were Cognizine at this point. I don't even know how the hell they got there. Probably just a resurrected one from a salvage expedition. But this random group of people that showed up were not remotely armed enough to deal with this amount of tomatoes. They're not necessarily dying here, but they're not getting through this very unscathed. Certainly hurting them. Xeno doing quite a lot of damage, though, and able to seemingly almost one-hit the tomatoes. Some tomatoes got lost into maintenance. The remnants of Tides the Maints is now Dies the Maints. The tomato wave isn't infinite. They have to sit there and grow them, but Borgs and anyone who tries to help are no longer bystanders. They are now part of the Great Tomato War. Some loose tomatoes still finding their way into Med Bay, causing just general chaos and ruckus across the station. Giant wave now following the Fern, who has bought themselves an elite suit. Great purchase to buy. Diana's biggest weakness is heat. Elite suit, very resistant to heat. A few tomatoes might get caught in the blast. Nope, they actually took the time to kite back, and no tomatoes will be harmed here. Not from themselves, at least. Random stray tomatoes and their slippery components still proving to be a major hindrance in combat. A bunch of tomatoes still stuck in maintenance, but enough of the tomatoes would die that people have started recovering a few bodies in general. Again, I really don't understand why this artifact is going straight for them, but nothing comes out of it. Captain finally starts showing up. They killed a few tomatoes loosely. Their gun is very well equipped for picking off the tomatoes. Arguably, their best time to show up was probably 10 minutes ago, but better late than never. More small groups of tomatoes getting out, just those slip and slide in the main hallway, leading to the death of many. Antique Laser taking off the east group, but this south group, just the tomatoes have been pushing further and further to the station, almost down into cargo. Random clowns and people are doing repairs on the Borgs, which are certainly helping. The Xenos are helping against tomatoes. That's a weird sight. Seems like the tomatoes might not even attack the Xeno because that's just a weird interaction in general, but people opening maintenance doors just to see 40 fucking tomatoes just bite them and then oblivion instantly. Captain doing trying to attempt to hold off some section of this area here. You see chemistry and medicals like attempting to maintain their walls, but Captain got stuck on a locker there, overextended. They don't loot them right away, but I'm pretty sure he saw it at that point, because, I mean, yeah, he just walks right back up. And, well, free Antique Laser and everything the Captain has is now crew desperate to try dragging anyone they can into medical, but medical is more or less a lost cause at this point. The tomatoes are only centimeters away from having a free path in, which he still has to lead the charge indirectly, but the elite suit is rather armored. More tomatoes finding their way in. People with random knives, machetes, anything they get their hands on, trying to kill a few tomatoes, but arguably people are really only killing 4 or 5 tomatoes per life, and the tomato production at this point is not stopped at all. Like, none of the plants have been dying or anything. He's not even using every plant there for killer tomatoes, and this is how many he has. This is borderline, at this point, it's pretty much unstoppable, especially now that he has AA and the Captain's Antique Laser. It's just, I don't know, watching the slaughter is just so entertaining. This is a Gaia Glorious Death Syndicate, and I'd say this is pretty glorious. Energy shotgun, tossing hands a little bit, flying through the air, no one able to keep their fingers on it for very long. But this is, the army comes marching on. Just the disgusting sounds of the tomatoes literally slithering through every corner of medical. Just, we are so dead. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. It's just trying to climb into the cryopods, but just not able to do it. Oh my god. So tragic. Tomatoes protect. At this point, the crew are like wearing emergency suits and like just picking up random guns that they can. Literally flashlights being used as weapons. But this is what I find really questionable from the AI. And I'm not calling out the AI player. I don't even know who the hell it is, obviously. But they start putting the scrubbers on Siphon to space the tomatoes. But that's just 100% directly just causing crew harm at this point. It's forcing people to have to put on suits and slow them down. And, I don't know, not being able to breathe is pretty harmful. A little bit of solidarity here, a little bit of peace. They wanted a glorious death, and at this point, they're acknowledging that it might be a little unsafe for the crew members. Fern taking more countermeasures against the AI, keeping the doors permanently open with the lockers. While that army continues to grow and the sounds of the dead are swept over, there's a small group of people, really the last survivors, are kind of holding out in the bridge. The antagonist at this point is certainly preparing for more of a last death charge. Head of security gets revived. There are so many tomatoes moving that I'm actually having frame rate issues, which is honestly impressive for this game. There's so many tomatoes that one wave of bites is enough to crit even people in hard suits. Evac has successfully docked. That was called a while ago. Good on the crew for realizing that the situation was pretty much lost from the beginning. So people are thankfully not stuck spectating for too long, but how do you not love seeing this many tomatoes? I love the killer tomatoes. They're so funny looking. Oh, like my game just chugs in frame rate with how many there are. I can't get a good read of how many there are. I wish it would just give me a number of like in like an entity list or something, but he goes back, harvest more, you know, just in case he needs some more. A lot of them are timing out and dying because they do have limited time. Here comes a last group of people. I don't even think they were intending on fighting tomatoes. I think they're just trying to get the evac. But the tomatoes do not take kindly to people trying to escape. That fire axe just slicing straight through the tomatoes, which also is just a funny statement in general. Again, the slip and slide, claiming many more lives. You can see crew directly getting shocked and killed because of the AI's previous actions. They had the fire axe in their hands for about a second. A few bullets is not even going to be enough to kill one tomato, let alone... I mean, tomato, not a totato. I'm starting to talk like them now. It's like they're infecting my mind. Pop with some nice jukes manages to get away. And now the bridge has fallen to... Can you even call this a syndicate horde? This is just a tomato horde. It's a literal red tide. My loyal tomatoes, he says. More of a victory cry than anything at this point. The station is now a tomato station. In a final begging act. Yeah. Begs for his killer tomatoes to kill him. Died of what you have created. I don't think any of the tomatoes, though, unfortunately, are sentient. With some form of explosive, manages to get his hand on the detonator just in time with a remote signal bomb. And ultimately, salvation is the last word that leaves their lips as they die a glorious death. Very awesome round. Thank you for watching.